the UK economy has simply stopped working for ordinary people. And the statistics are really very stark. We have had the longest period of wage stagnation for 150 years. And at the same time, the salaries of very wealthy people, chief executives, have raced ahead. So 30 years ago, a chief executive on average might be 20 times that of a worker. Now it's 150 times. So there are some very fundamental questions about our economy, and they won't be tackled through piecemeal
If Philip
measures.
Hammond were sitting here, of course, he'd say, look, we've got low unemployment's never looked better, we've had quicker growth than Europe over the years, the deficit has come down, the structure is all there. Is he wrong?
I think what he's talking about is one set of measures, but if you look at the economy over a period of time, we have deep structural problems that have been there for a while. Productivity, we're 20% lower than France and Germany. Our investment has fallen for 30 years, and the differences between different parts of the country are quite extraordinary. If you live in the northeast and the northwest, you might be on 30% less in terms of your salary
Is
than
this
London.
about the way the free market is operating? Do we need to curb that?
It's partly about the way the free market works, but it's actually about what kind of economy do we want to create. There is a sense in which people say we can't do much about the economy, it's settled by the market, but actually I think we can set out an ambition for a prosperous and just economy and work towards it. It is a question of clarity and will.
You use the word just, and it's very striking when you've got a figure like the Archbishop in this. Do you think the way the economy is being run immoral?
I think it is producing outcomes that we will find very hard to defend if we are asked the question, because it's not delivering fair outcomes for many of the people in this country. Others will form a view whether that's about morality.
Bob, you had to defend those practices. You worked in the civil service over, many years, decade.
Indeed, yes.
Did you find them wrong at the time?
I don't think we necessarily saw individual policies as wrong, but what you need to look at is a longer period of what has happened in the UK over many, many years.
Help me on this. I mean, give me a sense, because it's all very well to say, the model's broken, we need to change the structure, fundamental reform. What does that mean? When you talk about taxation, you say we need fairer, smarter, simpler taxes. You don't address the question of whether we just need more taxes. Should we be taking in more tax? Is that actually what needs to happen?
Well, actually, my personal view is the current austerity approach has run out of road and we need a new approach. Services are
But that's broadly agreed across the spectrum. I mean, even Theresa May said that now, pretty much.
And then consequences flow from that. We have a fiscal gap that has to be addressed.
So more tax,
that will mean we will have to look at the issue of tax and who pays what and how the system works. But you won't get people to buy into a change around tax unless they feel the system is fair.
More statist. Do you want to see more intervention? Would you like to see the government playing a bigger role?
We don't start from a presumption that it's about more state role. What we do start from is a sense in which you need to be clear what kind of economy you're trying to create, and everybody gets behind it. So yes, there will be really important tasks for the state to do. And in the report, we set out 30 different new ideas that can be considered. But it's not just about the state, it's about business.
All right, let me put this to you.
The trade unions and others.
A couple of years ago, Jeremy Corbyn became the Labour leader, and he was saying pretty much what's in your report today. Many in the establishment laughed at him then. Today you've got Helena Morrissey, you've got yourself, you've got the Archbishop of Canterbury broadly saying, that he's on the right track with what he's talking about now.
What you have actually is a number of politicians, including, of course, the Prime Minister, saying there are issues. She talked about burning injustices that needed to be tackled. So, yes, Jeremy Corbyn is saying some things here, so is Vince Cable.
But is his vision the one that you would now
May.
Embrace for Britain to get a fairer system?
What we want is a vision that's embraced not just by one party, but by the country, a clear sense in which we can create a fair, just and prosperous economy. And then we want business and the trade unions and others to get behind it. We're not, as you'll see from the membership of the Commission, starting from one political party.
Let's talk about Brexit, because you were a civil servant right at the heart of this. When David Davis says nobody thought it would be easy, there are a few sniggers, because obviously some suggested it would. You ran the civil service. Do you think they're embracing this challenge? Are they ready for this? Can they deliver it?
Look, the civil service prides itself in doing the job that it's asked to do by the government of the day. It serves the government of the day, and the government of the day is wanting to deliver Brexit. The challenge here, and I'll be very direct about this, is from my perspective, there is no upside here. This is about damage limitation. And we are working in a situation where policy has not been properly settled.
So the idea, the Guardian story that Chris was just talking about, that it would be the end of free movement of labour pretty much from the start of Brexit, if you like, and the document, draft document, admittedly, describes a sort of massive IT operation, an IT solution during the transition period, which would let people know by tapping in an NI number whether that person was allowed to work in the UK. Is that feasible in any sense?
Truthfully, I haven't seen the details, so I personally can't comment. What I would say is an election that was intended to settle the way we left the European Union did nothing of the sort. So we still have a very live debate about how the transition period will work. And in that situation, civil servants will struggle to get coherent policies if the politicians haven't sorted out their clear priorities.
So when Theresa May says no deal is better than a bad deal, from a civil service point of view, is no deal even an option? Could we survive no deal?
Well, I don't know what the civil service view is, but I know what my view is. It would be an utter and complete disaster for this country. We need to be very, very frank about this. There isn't a no deal option that will be good for this country.